Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome to this live video premiere. I appreciate it if you're currently here. Got some interesting things to talk through. Take in mind, I did look at the poll in yesterday's video and the majority wanted coverage on that website. Don't worry, that will be coming. But we've got more of an interesting video today, which needs to be focused on. It is a viewer requested one as well, so that's why it's been done. To do with Dylan Rounds, more specifically, a person who claims in a comment on YouTube that they have found they've got the location pinpointed where like Dylan Rounds' remains have been found, and supposedly Aiden Clune as well elsewhere. Now, this is what I'm saying. There could be heavy resistance tonight. Could be in the chat, probably. You might get some newer people coming on in, or the odd irregular rejects that show up and complain saying, what's it about? Where's the news? Where's the proof? Tell me now. Is it real? Is it BS? I need to know because I don't want to sit down for more than 5 minutes because I'm a lazy twat. People are like that and I have seen it. Okay. So just wanted to highlight that there could be resistance tonight, so make sure to be aware of it. We're definitely going to get more into it. I do have screenshots of the comment, analyse it, read it, try and make sense of it, share with you my thoughts based off my experiences, because I have come across situations like this in the past, okay, so we'll see, as well as a map analysis of the location where supposedly Dylan's remains have been found, okay? Maybe in some people's mindsets there could be like, oh, well, you know, supposedly family going out there recently and resources, other groups too, and it's been very quiet as well, so maybe they did find something and that's why there's a sudden silence. Some people will be thinking that and associating it with one another. Other people may be more on the fence and skeptical, which is understandable, right? It's a comment on YouTube at the end of the day, but the biggest, most important part is to take those comments and bits of information, possibly breaking news, somewhat seriously. Because if you brush it off, whilst that can work most of the time and you can be time efficient and effective, on that one occasion, you brush it aside and it turns out to be real and you missed out, you overlooked it, you walked past it. That's not good, is it? So for the people that still are complaining or confused, take it in the mindset, maybe at a point in time, of people going out there trying to search and look for Dylan in a genuine way at times. They've gone here, they've gone there, they've revisited here or there, because you never know. You may just stumble across something very important. The only way you'll find out is if you search about and check and double check. And when you do come across an object which may be something of importance or maybe not, the only way to find out is to handle with care, do whatever that needs to be done appropriately, report into the police, and then you get your answer, right? It's like that basis. But in this occasion, it's more to do with online processing, understanding information, or theories, ideas, and try and get to some kind of head conclusion at the end of this video, hopefully. Does that make sense to you? As we do go along, feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, and reactions in the live chat. That's why it's there. And as well, if you want to check out my previous video, I did one earlier, a very interesting observation when it comes to the Dylan Rounds community. There will be a link down below in the pinned comment section if you wish to check the video out, make sure to do so. And also a link to the video what I did yesterday, which was somewhat interesting too, talking about the Lance Kelly situation with those rock hounders, etc. More about that if you check the video out. All the links are down below. make sure to view them. And yeah, we can also check the comments out in brief to do with the previous video shortly, okay? Just to set the scene, allow people to join on into this live premiere, if you want to call it that. Another thing that needs to be done, and it's probably best doing it now because of timing, as a heads up to you in case you're interested, okay, is to do with, I don't know how far away is it now? Is it like an hour? In about 1 to 2 hours time, there is a live stream on Doug's channel, no thanks, one-on-one live stream interview with Candice Cooley. Again, just wanted to let you know about that in case you're more interested in that. If you do wish to transition from watching my video to watching that video, you can, feel free. I'll just get up on screen right now so visually you can see what I mean, and then it'll give the precise timing. Take in mind when I do share this, like this video schedule premiere thing on YouTube, it might give a figure which exceeds what the actual number is at the time, because this is pre-recorded, right? I think when I checked, it was like 8 hours. 8 hours from now till that interview. When I share this with you, which will be later on tonight, it'll say 8 hours, but in actual fact, it's only 1 to 2 hours away. Does that make sense? It gives the digital time anyway, so you just follow that, convert it into the US time zone if you need to, okay? Do that in a second. Then we can check the comments out. Then can talk about the Lance Kelly situation, because there's a shack lady thing going on there with what she's done recently. Then we can get into these comments about Dylan's remains, okay? I need to follow a very specific order for this video to work, for the flow to be there. If you do get half-hearted people, rejects popping in, irregular people who don't stick around and make their assumptions immediately and complain, tough fucking shit, okay? Appreciate to all the other people that are patient, of course, and people that are watching right now. Let's just head on over to Doug's channel, just so I can share with you what I mean about this upcoming live stream with Candice Cooley. So here we are. You can see it says live in 7 hours, today at 2200 hours. It might not be that time for you at that time. This is UK time on screen. Hopefully that does not confuse people. But, you know, at the time, when you do type it in Doug's channel, you'll be able to see it for yourself, okay? And we just scroll down a little bit. As you can see, it says Dylan Rounds updates with his mom, Candice Cooley, and what's coming in the future, I think. So that gives an idea. We were talking recently about it would be good if there is some kind of upcoming interview with Candice Cooley. It might clear up some questions. It could open up new questions. Will there be any contradictions in between, any lies, any switching and changing of information? Possibly, you never know. Could there be talk about recent supposed searches in lucin? Maybe. Anything to do with these comments, what we're looking at in today's video later on? Possibly not, if I'll be honest with you. But, you know, it might help you understand the case better through this interview. It might clear up some questions you've got. There might be some additional interesting information which has never been heard of before. Time will tell, of course. So, yeah, this video live stream interview with Candice Cooley, from the looks of it, is coming shortly tonight, right? So if you wish to transition on over to it, feel free to do so. Just wanted to let you know, because maybe not everyone follows Doug's channel, maybe not everyone has notifications on, I don't know, just so you're aware yourself, right? So with that out the way, whilst we're on YouTube, let's transition on to the comments of my previous video. If I just rearrange the comments in the correct order, work our way up. Jacqueline Rampley, thanks for the info regarding the trailer door. That was from the previous night's video to do with Ed's trailer, why the door was left open. Tom Evans was one that passed it on. Then we got Tom Evans here literally saying, Candice Cooley has gone quiet and nobody's searching. To me, red flags are going up everywhere. I've thought back to the beginning and I'm starting to wonder if the phone call Justin got about a kidnapping is something that we have forgotten about. Maybe the FBI took it serious and found something. There has to be a reason for them not searching and not wanting anybody to search. Does anyone else have any ideas? So, firstly, coincidentally speaking, Candice Cooley may have been quiet, but she won't be later tonight because of that interview live stream on Doug's channel, okay? As for the bit about red flags, nobody searching, is that true? I don't know if it was Tom's comment or Eddie's comment, someone's in recent time that was saying that there were searches taking place down there near the Grainshed property. On Doug's channel, actually on Doug's channel, who's in contact with Candice Cooley, when someone did leave a question in one of his posts saying, are searches going on right now? And Doug said, yep, yes. So maybe things have happened, just not every day. And you'd understand that to an extent because with how long the case has gone on, you can only be out there so long because it depends where you come from and if you've got other things going on in the background. More so, in the early days when it was all unfolding, you'd probably expect longer time spent out there over a course of days, maybe weeks, depending. In the early days, that's when those campers and trailers were taken out. And then the other time was during that, before the winter time of 2022, that big push that brought the trailers out again. Those two occasions, right, separated apart from one another, months apart, but at the beginning, family going out there with the campers trailers because they're going to stay there whilst searching. Of course you would, because it's all fresh, it's all unfolding and happening. You're searching for the first time. That's probably going to be the time where you spend the most time looking about. And as time drags on, and as more places are ticked off the list, and things going on in the background of life, you end up slowing down a little bit, right? And it's not as frequent. Because what more can you do if you've already looked? You can go back, double check, bring in additional equipment, but maybe that's limited to time as well and who's available. So, a few things to take in mind. The bit where Tom says about the kidnapping, Justin receiving the phone call. Are you talking about Kurt Wadsworth? Talking about that Montello hostage situation, the fake rumour in which supposedly Robert Aviles and Chase Venstra were responsible for kidnapping Dylan. You know, if that was the case, how could I understand it in the mindset of another individual, maybe like Tom? Well, I guess with Chase Venstra being in custody, Robert Aviles as well, more so in recent time, unrelated charges to do with the Dylan Rounds case. Unrelated. But it's a bit coincidental how in the early days when they were seen as people of interest, possible suspects, and then eventually they end up getting in trouble, even though it's not related to Dylan. You know, it's just a bit of a coincidence. Bad event happens, people are in trouble around about the same time. So I can understand how some people may associate certain sets of people with a case like this one. I personally don't at this moment in time, okay? But yeah, unless there's some other hostage situation that took place in the past, the only other one I can think of is during an East Idaho News Channel interview, not sure which one now, where Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds, then again, it might have been on the Heavy D interview when they were in the grain shed together. Yeah, one or the other, where Candice and Justin acknowledged that at one stage there was like someone reaching out saying, you know, We've got Dylan hostage, ransom money. We want the money and we'll hand Dylan over. We're in Mexico or New Mexico. Turned out to be another false lead, but, another hostage situation, supposedly speaking. The idea of a hostage situation was a theory here and there within the case, where it be cartels, some kind of local drug dealers or something, biker gangs, right? But there's not been enough solid proof evidence to support that idea, right? So it kind of has faded away with time. Anything else? FBI taking things serious, I guess. Anyone else have ideas? Let's just check the responses quickly, no harm. Linda saying, I wonder if they might know where Dylan is. Maybe they're waiting for the 28th of May to say something. It's just a thought. What was significant about the 28th, or what is significant about the 28th of May? It's not May yet, is it? No. What's happening on the 28th of May? I mean, it was the 5th of June, that next court case with Brenner. So what's happening before that? Tom says that could be. There are too many red flags right now. Also, the search of Lucin Pond has been hushed. There is a big possibility that something was found there. What do you mean, a hush on Lucin Pond? If you're saying it's suddenly gone quiet, technically speaking, the pond has been quiet for the majority of this whole case. It's come up in bursts, right, here and there throughout. A burst focusing, yes, went to the pond, checked here, did that, blah, blah, blah. Months later, now we can finally confirm that the phone was found there June 18th at the pond, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward on, a few months later, we can confirm with these phone pings that that was the final phone ping at the pond at about 2:51 p.m, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward to 2023, January, I think it was February time, with the last East Idaho News Channel interview, Candice Cooley and Justin, roughly speaking, I think, when they referred to how the second week in January or something, that's when the pond was drained once again, dug out, cleared, all the vegetation ruined, trees knocked down, blah, 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 to double check, didn't find anything. That's what I mean, it's come out in clumps, burst, here, there, and there. And in between, there's been silence. So I wouldn't say much has changed with that. I mean, you could put the argument across and say the dirt mound has gone very quiet recently. But this is the thing. So you don't start getting confused with stuff overlapping another. There might be certain areas or certain objects which quieten down, not because there's something going on, but simply because there is nothing to report on, because it may have been cleared up, debunked, nothing found, right? Does that make sense? I mean, as for Brenner's burnt down trailer, not much else has happened since that very first investigation by the police way back in 2022. It's been very quiet since. Could there be a follow-up? Maybe. Why hasn't there been one since? Probably because the police themselves confirmed that they didn't find anything of interest down there to begin with. Maybe if they did find something of interest, whether it be a small portion or there was more there, then maybe they may have revisited down the line. The only other way that could happen maybe is if someone else, general public, goes back down there and finds something. There's an additional tip off, which encourages police to go back down there. So that's the thing, you just got to try and categorise what's been debunked, cleared up, what's still pending, and what has suddenly gone quiet, and there's a big hush about it, right? There's like 3 different categories. Let's see what else. Dylan's found out there. If he's not there, then where is Dylan? So the possibility around the pond. With the pond being checked twice and the very first time divers going into the water, right? I think in addition Like if we're like referring to the possibility just recent about Dylan being in a pond, surely you'd be able to tell by the water. You know, you look at the pond itself, it's a pond, it's not that deep compared to a big lake or the ocean, of course. So you might see changes to the water, the quality of it, visually. Things might start appearing. I don't know. I'm not an expert when it comes to bodies, okay? And with Lance Kelly being down there, Ty Corbin, Scott Natal, over a course of time, that surely they would have seen something. And visits by those people were done in 2022 before the pond was rechecked in early 2023. So they should have seen something if something was odd or off looking, right? Let's check. Maybe Dylan is on the Nevada side of the border. Better yet, maybe he left the property alive and passed on the way somewhere. Are you saying that? What, are you saying that Dylan left the property by his own free will? Or he was transported elsewhere by someone or some people? Let me know your thoughts. Just Jen, once again, nothing. I jumped to conclusions. It's just some rock collectors. Jen, are you like quoting Lance Kelly in a way where he reacts very quickly, thinking it's to do with Dylan, documents it as soon as possible, uploads it as soon as possible, and then debunk it as soon as possible? If so, we can talk more about that shortly with what the Chat Lady has said as well recently. Diana Bond, she says Lance and Kimber were out already doing their own search, had no idea. Apparently it was a group out doing some rock analysis thing, collecting, rock hounding. Okay. That provides a little bit of a backstory, so shout out to Diana for clearing that up. I guess with Lance Kimber family regularly out there, or arguably regularly out there searching for Dylan, and maybe some other people in between, you know, if you're actually out there in the open, if you do see things unfolding and events, it's not as strange because you're already out there to witness it. It's not as planned. It's just natural. So I get that. Freddie K says, bro, how did you go from doing a serious video to never mind? Yeah, I guess the light switch changed. Betty Hayward, I'm sorry I missed the live. Yes, Betty, I had to dab myself later on with my own custom membership towel from my sadness and slight disappointment. But it's okay, Betty Hayward. There's always next time. We got Glenn Webster, of course. Got Weezer. Candice is supposed to be on Doug's tomorrow. Old comment, but basically means tonight, which will be coming very shortly, if you didn't know already. Is that it? Linda, Warlight, I don't buy it. Someone collecting rocks. The LE can't say what they're doing. The LE themselves have been very quiet for quite some time. If we really want to talk about the last time LE made a bit of noise, you could argue and say probably when Brenner was charged. Was it the third? Well, it was in March and it was on a Friday. I can remember that. If that wasn't an occasion, an event where the LE were noisy, talking, spreading awareness, then it'll be before that, most likely with maybe back in 2022 around the big push search for Dylan before wintertime, when the LE in the background gave the thumbs up to allow Texas Equisearch to finally step on in and assist, helping Candice Cooley and the family and Justin. Yeah. Because they have been quiet, at least from what I've seen and not heard of. It's been pretty quiet with them and they've been a little bit more submissive. Now, are they starting to climb back on in? I don't know. Maybe Candice Cooley can explain later if she does, raise a point about that. But at least here, it looks like we have cleared the comments up. Let's transition on to the after effects of Lance Kelly and his recent documentation out there when looking for Dylan. So about yesterday / the day before, Lance Kelly being out there either yesterday, Shack Lady did some kind of live stream for about 8 hours long. Pretty long, right? Kind of like how she used to do it. To do with Dylan Round's discussion, more so about Lance Kelly, a focus on him. If you are interested in the Shack Lady's most recent, latest live stream on the case, feel free to check it out on her channel. It'll be easy to find, okay? I just want to give you my additional thoughts regarding the Lance Kelly situation recently with his videos, his titles, and kind of like with what the Shack Lady has said herself. What do I think of the entire situation, okay? So besides Shack Lady doing an 8-hour live stream, for a portion of it, I don't know how long exactly, but Salty Pancakes was on panel. I guess, if I'm correct in saying, the Shack Lady supports Salty Pancakes, or at least is on neutral terms with him. They kind of think alike, understand one another, okay? You think back in the past, they did like join up together with live streams and panels. So I understand that. And I guess Jim Terry as well. But Shack Lady was briefly referring to the recent live stream as she won't invite Jim Terry onto her channel anymore because supposedly Jim Terry ruined her channel, ruined her image in a way. You know, it probably is deeper or whatever, but she was just explaining why. All I would say is, when the Shack Lady was talking about Lance Kelly, I don't know if it's a fair observation to make that maybe the Shack Lady has slightly come off the fence and is siding with one side over the other now. Am I incorrect in saying that? I could be. I feel Shack Lady in the past, although she might have been hated by people, the kind of good thing what she did was she was on the fence when it came to all these different characters coming on in. Some good, some bad, maybe all bad, but she didn't directly choose a specific side, right? Shack Lady herself back then said she's not going to step on Jim Terry's side in support, nor is she with Pancakes. She doesn't want to have to pick. And yet, if you think about it now in more recent time, she has sided with Pancakes because supposedly Jim Terry has caused her trouble down the line. So that's been a catalyst, a cause for her to move and shift direction. So when you remove Jim Terry out of the picture, you got Pancakes present, literally, in that live stream. Then you throw in Lance Kelly, the subject, the talking point. It seemed as if recently Shack Lady was leaning more towards agreeing with Pancakes and calling out Lance Kelly. So being on the fence is no longer present, right? Now, hopefully in most of my videos, I've not gone all in on one side. Hopefully I haven't done that. I've tried not to. If anyone can acknowledge that, feel free to do so in the chat. That will be helpful. When it comes to the light-hearted stuff, unrelated things, that's completely different. Tone of voice, accent changes for a reason. That is a secondary psychological inbuilt effect, which people might not think of at the time or question, but they'll just automatically know in here. That's why there's a change in pitch, tone, voice, pace, everything, all under control. But when it comes to the Dylan Rounds discussion, I tend not to give my opinion all the time, give the different points of views, and we can do that later on in today's video. So just before we go on any further, what I just want to say is, welcome if you have suddenly joined this live video premiere, and welcome if you're joining later on in this video. What I do want to say is, if you want to rewind back to the start to understand what we're talking about, feel free to do so. If you just want to continue on from here, that's fine as well. But yes, talking about Lance Kelly, his visits out there looking for Dylan, coming across the rock hounding group at first, portraying it as if it was police going down to Brenner's burnt down property trailer, when in actual fact that wasn't the case. Shack Lady was referring back to that event and previous videos too of how the titles are manipulated, used in the name of Dylan Rounds to get more views, attention, and people coming on in watching, because that's the selling point, that's the important thing, that's what drives the views, the stats, blah, 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 right? Do I agree with that? If you found a case or you found a theme, a topic, whatever it may be, negative, positive, tends to be more negative, and it brings in an audience, maybe a regular audience, or just lots of numbers with people popping on in. You want to try and keep that going for as long as possible, right? Because it's working. Why change it? When it gets to that point where it feels like you're running out, that's where possible desperation kicks in. You may start making things up or associating one event or one occurrence with another when there's no actual link to be made, right? And I think that's what the Shack Lady was referring to recently with Lance Kelly. Like with the Bones, like with this rock hounding group, titling it, documenting it as if it's like live, real time, all unfolding. Are we going to find something out about Dylan Rounds? Are they going to go down to that spot and discover something? Yes, yes, yes. No. What I would say though is you think of news coverage in general. If it's like an ongoing live report, timestamps throughout the day of what's following, order of events, I could understand that. Random example to be used, but it's the only one that came to my mind. When there's been shootings, mass shootings, let's say somewhere in the US, you get news reports all throughout the day of what's currently going on, what previously happened on earlier on in the day, what's happening later on in the day and later on at night, and maybe following into the next morning. It's a constant broadcast, constant news broadcast of breaking news. It can apply to other events as well, not just shootings. It can be anything. And it could build a bit of hype, build a bit of attention, suspicion, intrigue, worry, positivity, whatever it may be, depending what the event is. And once it gets to the head of it, the conclusion, it could be all for nothing. It could be debunked and it could be written off. But people don't complain as much there as they do here with Lance Kelly. But I guess it's trying to understand, how does Lance Kelly do his videos? Because in contrast, if a person had to travel somewhere, cover a fair bit of distance to go out, document, searching for, let's say, Dylan, as well as stumbling across other things in between, such as the rock hounders, which at the time, unaware that's who they were, you could document it all and think, oh my God, they're heading in that direction. That's where Brenner's burnt down trailer is. Going to follow after them. Let's keep on going. We're still rolling. Oh, this is really intense. This could be a conclusion. Oh, they've driven right past. Oh, but there could still be, there could be still something going on elsewhere. Let's keep following them. Oh, they're going to Bald Eagle Mountain range. Oh, this is where I was looking in the past. Maybe they have found something. Maybe they've been watching my videos. Oh, let's carry on recording. Whatever. Keep on going down. Let's catch up. I'll run after them. There we go. Hi, everyone. What's going on here? Who are you? What you're about? Rock hounders. Oh. Do you know Dylan? No? Oh. Anyway, I'm going to separate both videos and upload them separately because why not? Isn't that pointless? Don't you think? What would be the best way of wording it? In a situation like that, the reason why it's arguably problematic, it's, if you're not doing a live stream on that condition, you've got separate recordings throughout that day of when you were out there searching. Then you've got all that time to travel back, wherever your home is, could be further afar, and then you go through the process of uploading the videos. At that point, how do you upload those videos? Based off all those scenarios and specific conditions, make sure you're listening, exactly what I said. If you then uploaded the videos separately and titled them, oh, breaking news, group of people going down to Brenner's burnt down trailer, that would be considered misinformation because you're uploading it at a time later on in the day when you already knew and eventually found out what they were actually doing and who they actually were. It was nothing to do with Dylan. So you upload it in that condition, in that order, it could be considered misinformation and a waste of time and manipulated in a specific way. Is that exactly what Lance Kelly did? At first glance, and you look at the titles of the videos, was it all on the same day? You could say, oh, yeah, misinformation because of the titles. But to maintain balance, what I would say in this situation, make sure you're listening, arguably in defense of Lance, if all these videos were documented on the same day, if that truly is the case, if all those videos were uploaded on the same day, you could treat it as a running broadcast news report and update, documenting things as they go along throughout the day. You've already uploaded a short clip of the cars passing by. That's one video. May have titled it a certain thing. Do a live stream in between whilst you're traveling to the spot or trying to catch up on those people as to what's going on, like a live broadcast of the events unfolding on the day. Leading up to the video, don't know if it was a live premiere or an actual live stream. That would be the big determining factor, I would say, of Lance going up to Bald Eagle Mountain to talk to the guys and find out, and then to finally upload another video, I guess, concluding it all, debunking. The only positive you can acknowledge is that whilst Lance documented it in the style he did and titled it in the questionable way he did, still on the same day, I believe, he managed to upload a debunking video at the end of it all. It's better, it's something is better than nothing, right? Look at it like this, bit of a wide contrast, but when it came to the Kenny Veach case, okay, and the mystery of the M cave, the shallow M cave next to the shallow cave with the keyhole and a reptilian creature eye looking through the hole, blinking, appearing and disappearing, right? Documented that at the time. I don't know if it was immediate or not, but breaking news. It was reached out, people talked about it, wild, hot topic, full on, fuck me, that type of stuff, right? But then many months on, I revisited it. I did an update video debunking it from what I've learned over time. I did receive resistance for that. More so people thought I was paid off, brainwashed, captured by men in black, reptilians probed me from behind, etc. But it's just because I saw the full picture eventually. But it took time. So I did coverage of it, documenting a mystery. Not quite the creator of the mystery, because it was another person that indirectly captured it on camera, but I spread awareness about the mystery. And then arguably I debunked the mystery down the line, but there was a big gap in between. Could you say that applies to Lance Kelly? The only difference being all done on the same day? If it was done any differently, how could it have been done differently to reduce the backlash from some people, like from the Shack Lady, Pancakes and others? If Lance Kelly just did one singular video titled "Searching for Dylan Rounds, came across an unexpected convoy of people / explained, that would be pretty much acceptable, I think. Basically, you're out there anyway, searching about, trying. You come across a group, you might as well record it, document it as they're going past, and then include the footage later of finding the answers and constructing it all together into one singular video. Voila, at the end. Then there shouldn't be resistance. But I think with Lance Kelly, he tends to maybe get excited when there's new news or breaking news. I can understand that. And maybe because he feels like he wants to interact with his audience, he wants to allow people to follow him on his journey live at that moment if something does happen. Yeah, I can understand that. Maybe other people misinterpret it. I think the only other thing to point out, because Lance Kelly lives within the area, he's not going out of his way to cover miles upon miles upon miles of, traveling to get to the spot to then search. It's not quite like that. So, is there more time to think about what you're doing and how you should be uploading and ordering the videos? Maybe, but if it's like live coverage on the spot, if Lance Kelly uploading his video after video after video, all uploading whilst he's creating the next video followed by the next video in that order, whilst actually being out there at the time and in between live streaming, that's like on the spot, on the go. I understand why one follows with the other. But if it was all recorded, or most of it recorded in separate videos and then all uploaded later on in the day separately and titled the way they are, I think that could be what people see as the problem. Hopefully that makes sense to some people. As I said, if you want to hear more about the Shack Lady and her opinions, what she thinks, what she believes, as well as salty pancakes, check the Shack Lady's channel out, okay? It's a long video. Just make sure you got some food or water with you, okay? I'm sure Indiana was slightly surprised when she saw the number of it, 8 hours long, because not been used to that for a while. Then again, that'd be telling a lie because of my photography live stream, which was about 7 hours long. Realistically, I was going to set it to about 24 hours long, but file size limitation. I think YouTube has a 12-hour cutoff point, and as well, the uploading in between, the time that will take, just wasn't practical. If I ever do it in the future, people should be more aware of what to expect, and it can be shorter just for practical reasons. It doesn't need to be that long, but, experimentation at the end of the day. And speaking of experiments and observations, as I said, make sure to check out my earlier video I did today. Very interesting observation overall, a full circle. Arguably speaking, it's like a 2 to 3 minute video summarizing nearly over a year's worth of observations. And considering I'm the sort to spend 20 minutes analysing a pair of underpants in the desert, it must be a miracle by Tyler that I was able to make a 2-minute video for once, right? Anyway, let's just put that aside. I don't know if it's quite the time yet to be transitioning on to Doug's live stream interview with Candice Cooley. I can't really keep track of time because I don't really have clocks around me. But nevertheless, it's now time to move into, I guess, the main portion of this video, I believe. Check the comments out. Did a little announcement earlier on. So, the order this is going to follow in, viewer requested video. Credit to the individual for getting the screenshots and telling me about it, because I've not heard anyone else mention it. Okay. I'll give you my thoughts, opinions, and like that after reading the comments out. We can still do the map analysis location of it too. Yeah. So I guess no harm to get straight into it. Share with you the photos of these comments, just analyze, and then head on to the maps. Okay, you ready? Here we are. So this is just a brief backstory regarding the person that notified me about it and how they came across it. They said about 3 weeks ago, a YouTuber named Prospector Gold commented that he had found Dylan's remains, partially, I think, and has also found Aiden Clunes' remains. I put the links in the original email I tried to send. They're the following: Lance Kelly's video, large vertebrae found. We may have come across that video already. We may have analysed it. I'm not too sure. Maybe you've watched it yourself. But yeah, Lance Kelly's video, large vertebrae found. If you want to check it out yourself, the video, feel free to do so. But we can transition onto the comments immediately. Okay. The screenshots are from the point of view and perspective of the viewer that requested the video. Okay. Any other names that stand out there, not quite sure. But yeah, Prospector says actually, which one should we start with first? Let's start off with the bottom one, because there's no attachment to that. Hopefully you can read the text. Obviously, shout out to Tasha, okay? Tasha and her poor eyes. Absolutely tortured yesterday when it came to the text. I think when we do revisit that website, I will have to rotate the screen about. I chose not to last night because it just like effed up the aspect ratio and it kind of covered the boxes and stuff. So maybe we'll have to rethink that one through. But that aside, let's just check the comment out. So Prospector Gold, it says 10 hours ago, but that's, I guess the screenshot was taken back then. Anyway, Prospector says, and on Aiden Clune, I gave the location to Detective Moore, and in the next 5 days, the sheriff will be out there with cadaver dogs. I gave the maps to him on the 4th, the 5th, 2023. So who is this person just popping on in like this unexpectedly, right? Both Dylan and Aiden. Is it hard to believe that a singular person could find remains, locations of these missing people back to back? Maybe, yeah, it's probably hard to believe. I guess the only thing you could acknowledge is Aiden and Dylan are not too far apart from each other, arguably speaking. So if you're in the area, let's say, looking about maybe, and somehow you come across the spot, then followed by the other, you know, if you're looking for one person, likely you're probably looking for the other person too, because, I mean, they are separated in months of when they went missing, but still kind of fresh cases, you know. Prospector Gold. Of course, you can react in the chat. Let me know what you think. We'll just should we do a poll right now, or is it a bit too abrupt? Just do the poll. Do you think these comments by Prospector Gold are the truth, partially telling the truth, or pure BS? The good exercise this demonstrates is spreading awareness of a potential piece of information or a rumour, and maybe clearing it up at the same time, which maybe other channels haven't done in the past because they've not used the appropriate wording. Okay. Detective Moore. I think I've heard of that name before, Detective Moore. Was that in the Dylan Rounds case, though? I don't know. Is it to do with the LE of the Dylan Rounds case applied with the Aiden Clune case because of the area? Not quite sure, personally. I think so. I heard of Detective Moore and Cade Palmer. They're the two ones I've heard of within the Dylan Rounds case. Let me know your thoughts. What do you have on the next page? Oh yeah. So this is the other comment just focused in with the drop-down tab of responses. Prospector says, the second location of Dylan, I gave that to Detective Moore, and they went to that area next to Rabbit Springs Reservoir, and the sheriff have located him, and he is in the West Jordan Corners facility. Right, what does that mean, though? So, West Jordan Cornice facility, does that mean the place where a body would be held, before being examined or something? Maybe. Yeah. I just feel like I've not come across this comment before, but I've come across a comment where someone was saying how, oh, Dylan, yeah, he's in this facility down here or in that town or wherever, like he's already been found. Basically, it seemed as if Dylan was already found back then, but obviously that wasn't the case because fast forward on, they've still not been able to find Dylan. I guess the only thing you could possibly put together is because of the silence recently, because of how quiet it's gone, right? And with Tom Evans saying supposedly there's not really anyone searching out there, could that tie into the fact that Dylan has been found and that this comment by Prospector acknowledges it? I can't say for certain, okay? What I will tell you right now, there is a slight bit of cautiousness within me when reading these comments out, okay? I am partially thinking, this is pure bullshit, okay? But I'm still reading over it, trying to make sense of it, just in case it turns out to be the truth for whatever reason, right? Maybe you can do the same thing too. There's no harm in going over this as long as there's no manipulation or trying to brainwash anyone into believing that this is the truth, like how other channels have done that, okay? So, Detective Moore, both on the Dylan Rounds and Aiden Clune case, is that correct? So Prospector saying, I gave a location here, I gave a location there. Is that because Prospector was out there boots on ground? I mean, how else can you find these places of interest with accuracy as to where the remains of these missing people are? I just don't think it's exactly possible. If you're going to pinpoint a spot, then either you've got material with you online to be able to construct together to create some kind of direction of where the person likely went or was taken to. And if not that, you are actually boots on ground in the area following the clues and hints that are about and pieces of evidence, and then making an accurate guess. I can't remember the exact term used for that. Something guess, but done well. Yeah. I mean, we've had Ricky leave comments recently about his visits out there, like to the chop shop and up to the Grainshed property gate. It's good of him sharing his experiences. Ricky, type of person online who doesn't record, document and upload to YouTube, but he's doing his own thing in the background trying to search, which is understandable. Maybe it's a good thing not documenting it, because if he does come across something, you don't want to be airing it public immediately because it could harm the case. So he's been doing his own thing in the background. What it does open up, though, is that possibility that there are people out there, whether it be right now, maybe the future, more so in the past, individuals or groups out there, unknown, not documenting anything, not too much of a presence online either, but going out there searching. Kind of reminds me of the Kenny Veach days when, although the majority of hikers that went out there documenting their hikes, uploaded it to YouTube so then people knew who was who and who's been there previously, in between you had the odd group of people going on down, or the odd additional hiker who was unheard of at the time, who didn't document their travel out there. So it was a guessing game of who else could it be? What else is out there, right? So like with the Dylan Rounds case, that's what we're seeing. Yes, you got Lance Kelly documenting his travels out there and going out and about and stuff. You had Mob Crew Chris as well with his documentation of the area. You had Ty Corbin as well. Just in Candy's Cooley, they've not really documented it to upload to YouTube, but they might have taken the odd screenshot photo, which has been used by news reports and stuff like that down the line. Salty Pancakes as well, doing his own documentation of the area, and maybe some other people in between, and then including Ricky out there, but not documenting it. And then what? Prospector Gold, him doing or her doing the same thing? I don't know, right? It's kind of brief, but at the same time straight to the point of what this person's trying to get the message across. Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately it might be going on right now with that interview of Candice Cooley. Maybe something's mentioned there. Might clear up some questions, possibly, to see where things are at right now. Okay? Yeah. What was the next slide? The same one? Yeah, this was just from the perspective of me. Right, so with this saying 9 days ago, that was more so weeks ago, couple of weeks ago, okay, when this viewer screenshotted it. I screenshotted it today. That's why the original comment says 3 weeks ago when it was posted. So we've got a bit of a timestamp, right? If we was to rewind 3 weeks ago from now till then, within those 3 weeks, would you say there's been a level of silence? Yes, no? Would you say there's been a lack of developments? Yes, no? Would you say that there's been red flags or that feeling that something is going on but it's not being talked about? Yes, no? You know, maybe if some of those tick the boxes in some way or another, then it could highlight as to why because of this comment. But if that really was the case and it's not been talked about public or Candice Cooley hasn't mentioned it, then why should this person? Wouldn't that be going against the case? I don't know. I guess it depends. I mean, if it's saying that at West Jordan Corners facility, do you want to really be revealing the location where Dylan's at? You know, a key piece of evidence as well as a person. I don't know. I don't know about that part. And what else? Prospector says the first location was south of the farm where Brenner dug up Dylan with the blood clots and clothing and detective more emails. Wait, hold on. So yeah, this is tying in with what that viewer said about the possibility that Dylan's remains are scattered about because he's left a comment saying the second location of Dylan was found here. The first location was found there. But why did Prospector leave the comment, first of all, saying the second location of Dylan was here? Why not start the comment thread saying the first location was found here? Did they just type it up wrong, in the wrong order? Just seems a bit of an amateur mistake to make. Right, so can we apply it to the maps? I guess we can. What's the first location? South of the farm where Brenner dug up Dylan. We probably can't do that one on the maps exactly because no precise location or coordinates are given. But Brenner's saying Brenner dug up Dylan with the blood clots. What? With the blood clots and clothing. This isn't making any sense now. Are you saying that Dylan was buried south of the farm, then dug back up, a form of desecration, right? Removing a body. But with blood clots. What do you mean with blood clots? I don't get that. And clothing. What, clothing was dug up too of Dylan? Well, Dylan's wearing clothing, so how would that really matter? Yeah. The second location I gave to Detective Moore, and they went to that area next to Rabbit Springs Reservoir. Okay. Let's at least check out Rabbit Springs Reservoir and see where that's at. Right, here we are. I've got it typed in. Oh, restaurant, we don't want that. Rabbit Spring Reservoir, Utah, USA. Reservoir in Utah. That's promising, at least to say. It's within the area, I guess, but let's just take a closer look to see what it's all about. Here we are. Right, maybe I have glanced over this in the past when we've been looking at washes, left, right and centre. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Has Rabbit Spring Reservoir ever come to your mind as a potential spot, a place of interest, a high probability area? Ty Corbin, if you're watching right now, what do you make of all this? Anything of use or pure BS? So it's near to a dirt road from the looks of it, and there's some roads branching off to the area. Is there any point in checking 2023 satellite imagery? I don't think so. I don't think so. Unless people want that as a shorter video, just a separate one. No photos from the looks of it, unfortunately. East Rabbit Spring. And the comment said nearby. So you're saying near to the reservoir. Are you suggesting that Dylan's not in the reservoir but buried in the ground nearby? And that's where some of his remains were. And the way it was worded, depending on how you interpret it, it's as if some of Dylan's remains were south, I think that's what you're saying, of the farm. And then the rest of the remains were placed here. So I guess what Prospector is saying, that Brenner buried Dylan in that location near to the farm, dug him back up and removed him here, but a portion of Dylan's remains were still back at the previous first burial spot. Is that what they mean? Huh. I mean, we just zoom into this area. Rabbit Spring Reservoir. Is this used often for anything? I said I'm not an expert with the land, the area. I mean, would anyone notice anything wrong with the water here if something was submerged like Dylan? You can see the dirt roads which go around it, right? Do people park up? Maybe. Yeah, you can see like around the outer perimeter. Comes down here, loops back round onto this crossroad. As you can see there, we flip the image. There's Rabbit Spring Reservoir. Lucin Airport is over that way. Should we do a distance check? Guess there's no harm. I mean, the concept of doing a map analysis, a full-on dedicated one, and talking about it probably isn't necessary at this moment in time, considering Candice Cooley is doing that interview tonight, so maybe things could be cleared up there, you never know. But all I want to do is check the distance from here, where supposedly Dylan's remains were, like that. Zoom out. I still think we're probably going to get resistance in tonight's video, right? People complaining. And then people saying, oh, well, look at you with the Lance Kelly situation. And it's like, well, cool off for a second, because one thing that needs to be acknowledged is the appropriateness of the title. Right, okay, I just wanted to zoom out just to process it. Right, okay, south. We're not facing north, we're not facing north, are we? Are we upside? We're fucking upside down, man. This is not a good look. I'm just gonna refresh it. Okay. I don't like the idea of being upside down. Better. There we go. Do it somewhere like here. And then see where we're at. Just makes it a bit easier to follow. If you're familiar with looking at a map a certain way around, there's no need to change it. Right, so if we did like a fast travel, it's like 6 miles away from the grain shed property from Brenner's trailer, and it's about 8 miles away from Dylan's farm. Now, of course, you're not just going to be able to jump across like that. You will have to follow different routes and roads. And there seems to be a main dirt road coming down here, which is quite long and somewhat straight. Near to Lucin Airport, though. And with what Bouncy Bounce said, whoever that default profile is, supposedly that this pivot here, which is not owned by Dylan, but Don Haley did have responsibilities passed on from the owner at the time, who was the owner at the time, to look after the place when testing and experimenting seeds crop growth, which turned out to be a failure in the end. People were saying that, no, Dylan wouldn't be buried anywhere on this pivot area, this crop, because it's close to the airport and the airport has cameras, supposedly speaking. But then if Ivor Zadovsky isn't in the area anymore, then why should it matter? That's one way of looking at it. How far is it from the airport, roughly speaking? About under 3 miles. Oh no, we got the number 333. Isn't that a coincidence? Wow, it just fills me with such joy and dread at the same time. But yeah, would you say that's within the mileage for cameras to detect any activity going up to Rabbit Spring Reservoir? Rabbit Spring Reservoir being about 3 miles off Lucin Airport. Let me know your thoughts about that, because it looks like you'd have to be driving past it. I can just about see the lines. This is perfect. In terms of the road, it's very simple to get to, right? Cross over here, within Lucin, got Lucin Pond just there when I put that point. Back roads, if you was to follow them, maybe cut across there, passing the bra shed as I just put the marker down, getting to this point here, going through the gate possibly, and then back to Brenner's trailer. Right, can I... Don't delete itself. Whew, there we go. That's what it looks like, okay, on screen. It might be a bit hard to see, but I can't click anything or you'll lose it all. But basically, down here, grain shed property where Dylan arguably was murdered on the spot. Brenner's place of living too, squatting in the area, but as some say, being a caretaker, living there. Following the back roads as described by people in the past like Candice Cooley. Passing Lucin Hill, which is centered the screen there. Also passing by Lucin Pond, which is there on the right. Crossing over the railroad tracks here at that crossing. And then, even though it's a bit out of sync with the roadway, just following it up, passing by West Entrance Transcontinental. Just going all the way up here, turning at this point, which is in parallel to Lucin Airport, to eventually get to this place called Rabbit Spring Reservoir. You've got Rabbit Spring in this area. About 10 miles in total. Not that far. Still within Lucin, I guess. Is it a place that's already been searched? No clue. I know that comment says police have gone down there, but I don't know if that's truly a fact, because where's the actual proof of it? Unless that proof comes down the line. Okay? That's what I'm saying. We can look at this and come up with theories, but not to go all in. Because if you go all in on the idea, it could backfire. And we don't want that happening, not at this point. Do we have any markers? Any... what about here? At that crossroad? What does it look like at that crossroad? Because it does come off. So you've got a dirt road over there with a truck going up that way. I mean, isn't that kind of... Well, I might be wrong. Ghost town, quiet area, still got main roads, of course, for cars to pass through, like traffic. And yet, the moment I click on this spot, there's instantly a truck nearby driving in that direction, even though it's a ghost town. Yeah, weird. Anyway, what's that little pipe there? Is that a marker or something? But basically, that dirt road you see going down that way, if you follow it so far down, that's how you get to Rabbit Spring Wash. Now, I'm not saying that's the way Brenner went, not at all. The other route is more accessible and practical for him, or for whoever else that may have been tagging along. I just went on here because this is the closest I could get to the area as for street view. As you know, street view is very limited. If Lance Kelly or Ty Corbin at the time were able to upload photos in a 360-degree viewing sphere and upload it to YouTube, that would be very good. But I just don't think that's ever going to happen. You know what I'm talking about. When you get those blue little circles on Google Earth and then when you drop the man down on it, or as Maria calls it, the little man dragged along, you get dropped into that location, boots on ground photo, but it's 360 degrees so you can look all the way around, up and down at the area. Street view is different. It's where it's like a continuous route, like on a road, on a pathway in which you can follow all the way down. A 360-degree sphere is just a singular photo shot, but you can look all the way around, and the quality tends to be significantly better. There will be times though where it's worse, but can we go any further? Oh, the quality's changed all of a sudden. So although you got that dirt road there, you do have some tracks on the side where people have cut across, maybe because they're a bit lazy. There's a cattle grid there. Uh-oh. Watch out, Graham. Watch out, Dale. You don't want to get stuck in the cattle grid. Yeah, so down over that way somewhere. There's no photos, or not many new ones of Lucin Airport either, so we can't look at it from an angle perspective that way, looking up north. But yeah, as close as we can get to, unfortunately. Make sure I'm facing the correct way. So we're looking at that dirt road. Follow it down. Comes down this way. Zoom on out. Owl Spring. And then way down here, you got Rabbit Spring. What would happen if I just typed in Rabbit Spring? No photos, it's completely blank. That's annoying, that. Sometimes when you get named locations nearby, East Rabbit Spring, try type that in. Any photos there? No. Thought people would have been taking photos, like tourists, people hiking in the area. I mean, there's track marks, so it suggests that there's levels of activity over time for people to come down here. As I said, this is only 2019 satellite imagery, but it's just to highlight that, you know, there's some activity within the area. And if there's some activity within the area, why would you be going here to dispose of someone? There's probably better chances of concealing a person near to the grain shed property if there's no one farming in the area than somewhere down here where it could be managed, the water, regular checkups of the place. I don't know. Any cattle, any farm handlers passing through. And with it near to Lucin Airport doesn't seem quite practical, right? But yeah, there's Rabbit Springs. This is the area nearby where Dylan, or part of Dylan, was supposedly found. Right. You got like these like bold patches here as well where it's just, yeah, all those track marks. You when you see those track marks and then they come onto here, is this just like a parking spot people use or off the dirt road? I don't know. Anyway, let me transition on to my conclusion, my actual opinion of these comments by Prospector. So the way I see things, and I hope people are still watching to at least understand what I think of this whole matter, I personally feel it's important to document regardless of the outcome, right? Because it looks evident that it's been brushed over. It kind of died down. And even when that comment was posted on Lance's channel, like, Lance did respond, but there was no true follow-up to it. No additional responses, attachments. There was no video dedicated to it in the eyes of Lance. It kind of fell flat. Maybe because he himself thinks it's BS, but, you know, you see a comment like that and you think, wow, right? But maybe other people, a form of, what do you call it, systematic? Maybe not. Just a level of desensitization has taken place throughout this case, with it being a roller coaster effect, the ups, downs, and many dead ends and questions, the switching and changing of information. It has got to that point where even the credible sources or the higher ups, the authority, the people within the case, like the family or the police, who have come out with bits of misinformation, switched and changed along the way, along with news articles and news channels on YouTube, if them make mess ups, if they get stuff wrong, what else are you supposed to believe? Who do you believe? The hope decreases, right? So then when a stranger does come along, general public, let's say, and they come out with a comment like, I found this or I found that, breaking news here, you're probably going to look at it and think, piss off, and not even take it into mind because you're too focused on the idea that the ones you should be looking up to and listening are getting it wrong. So how and why could just a general public person like that know more? How could they? And, you know, that can be understandable for most part of it. That's probably what a fair few people are thinking, right? Even like right now with what we've covered today. As for my own personal experiences, when I covered the Kenny Veach case in the past, over time there was levels of comments coming on in. Some claiming Kenny has been found, some claiming to know what happened to Kenny, others claiming that they went to the cave and experienced it for themselves. But the majority of those people were Dora the Explorer hyperventilating prats. Basically, a younger audience, they've not been there, they're just telling a creative, sparkly styled, rainbow-coloured story of mystery, intrigue and pure bullshit. A waste of time, okay? You could detect that by the spelling and the wording language, right? You could tell if it's someone messing about. You could tell if it's someone that hasn't gone through the formal stages of development when growing up, right? Because they're still in that process in the early days. So that's telling signs to begin with. There's been moments where people have been from a different country, so their typing appears poor, not much they can do about it, understandable, but they still turned out to be bullshitting their way when it came to Kenny Veach and M. Cave, right? The people I listened to at the time, mostly, were the actual people that were boots on ground in the area, like Jeff Clark, which is still ongoing, with experiences and stuff. We'll cover that in a future video, okay? Scott Natal, SB Vega's Adventures, Sean Horlacker mainly, up to a certain point, and some other people in between. They've been out there, they've experienced it, right? And like with Susan Veach, people can dismiss her, but if she is a Veach family related member, which she is, and she has been around Kenny at some point, she's going to know a bit more behind Kenny and his backstory than people online would. Just being honest, right? So with those types of comments, the people messing about, it was clear to identify. Though, there was another wave of people. The other wave of people, not saying Kenny has been found, but more so a backstory to what's going on or what has gone on in the past, like searches, attempts made to locate Kenny, research groups, attempts made to find the M Cave, pre-existing way back in the past, right? That was the sort of comments that were shared. whether it be on GLP, Godlike Productions, or mainly on my channel, right? There's a couple of trends of that going on over time. And the only reason why in the early days we looked at it, some believed in it, was because of how the message was put across. Yeah, it was a default profile. Yeah, no content on their channel, arguably no contribution to the case. But in a way, they were contributing right here, right now at the time with information they had and they wanted to share from the looks of it. And because they constructed their sentences, their wording was done fairly well. Not really any spelling mistakes, dates, facts, statistics were provided. It seemed as if they knew what they were talking about, such as one of them, Gene Lovkowski, who seemed to have a lot of information about the area and searches conducted with time, as they were supposedly a part of the original search and rescue team. You hear that, their backstory and the information they provide, it all ties in, it makes sense, and you're more likely to believe in them. But down the line, bit of switching and changing in behaviour, Susan Veach, the Veach family related member, reaching out to the original search and rescue coordinator, I believe, saying, have you ever heard of this person called Gene Lovkowski? And that original search and rescue guy said, nope, never heard of him before. And that have highlighted possibilities of bullshit. They've never shown up since. The other account that did show up at one point, claiming to be very knowledgeable about the case, somehow, was called Jack Uzi. Jack space Uzi. U-Z-Z-I. So if you used to read it out quickly, jacuzzi, what you would go in. Okay? But they faded away as well. And when people fade away, it's most likely because they feel like there's not much more that can be done. I've tried spreading the bullshit. People didn't listen. I'm getting bored. I'll move on to the next best thing. Kind of like what Brookie did in the Dylan Rounds case. Brookie is arguably a good example of a bullshitter, like within the Kenny Veach case, from my own experiences, where they come on in because of how they word things or how they say stuff. They provide a bit of a backstory, introduce themselves, etc. They might be believable, first impressions, maybe. But then when challenged with where's evidence, where's proof, provide it, and they don't. That's where it becomes an issue, right? And it thinks, oh, here we go again. I remember at one point Candice Cooley did start speaking out and calling out Brookie. If you know something, reach out to me. That never happened, so that says a lot. And Brookie's not been around since because she's been doing other stuff, fading away. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Are we seeing that again right here, right now? I've not received or experienced first-hand personal bullshit in this case. I would say, based off a somewhat of a realistic, genuine scale, people that have reached out to me with information which hasn't really been challenged either ever since, I'd say 96% of what's been shared with me hasn't been BS. And I'd say 100% of people that have reached out to me with supposed information and knowledge has been genuine. It's probably quite big saying that, but take in mind it's not hundreds upon hundreds of people reaching out to me. So the percentages are going to appear better. Within the Kenny Veach case, it was very unstable with people coming out with information. It did get to a point where you had to block it out, and you only, and maybe were advised to only listen and look up to hikers going out there, and maybe the odd family member if they're present, and that's about it. The Dylan Rounds case, although you can say there's a lot of misinformation or changing of stuff, who have been the main culprits? Maybe other YouTube channels, some locals out there who seem to keep getting stuff wrong, sometimes family members, sometimes police. But as for on my channel, there's not been as much misinformation. Misinformation might have come on over or might have been spread from elsewhere onto here. But in terms of origins of misinformation, it's not really rooted on this channel. Some people will put the argument across and say, yeah, but what about that video you did back then, Raf? And that video and that discussion, that's misinformation. No. You need to reread the title of these videos, okay? It's specifically worded for a reason, to avoid that BS. You look at the specific characters, question mark, exclamation mark, you know, etc. It should be simple to follow, but I guess some people can't follow it. But there you go. So I think at the end of the day, that comment provided what we're seeing today, because of how it's worded, at least one of the statements about the first location and the blood clot, whatever the hell that's about, the bit of poor wording there and language would make me think it could be a degenerate person, just like a kid messing about. The only other possibility you could say is it could be just simply an older person that mistyped. That can happen. Look at Joy Perry, perfect example. If you tried searching for Joy Perry in the dictionary, it would not exist. Okay? But I would say maybe in tonight's interview on Doug's channel, it might pop up or it might clear something up, you never know. Or there could be talk about other stuff which then debunks this concept, right? Just wanted to cover it anyway because no one else has mentioned it since. So there's no harm in starting a discussion on it whilst maintaining a level of caution at the same time. That's the most important part. I'm not entirely convinced by the comments by Prospector, okay? The fact that he was able to single-handedly find the two locations of the two different people seems hard to believe. The bit about the blood clot and the poor wording, that makes me doubt. And the bit about saying, oh, he's held at this facility, blah, 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 blah. I heard that same statement used in the past months ago by someone else. Oh yeah, he's held at this facility, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so they are the red flags, I guess, which make me question and doubt it, the genuinity of it, okay? It's harder to make statements or predictions or ideas on this stuff when it's experienced for the first time ever. Yeah, I've experienced it in the Kenny Veach case, but that's the Kenny Veach case. This is different. This is a true crime case, different set of people, okay? And first time experience with handling with this stuff when majority of it has been genuine, so yeah. And as well, you think back, there was a time where there was some user on YouTube and maybe on the Facebook page as well spreading it, which Candy's coolly acknowledged months too late, about some person on YouTube was spreading the idea, misinformation, that Dylan Rounds is alive, he escaped, he's elsewhere, he's got a new farm, growing fields of drug plants, lots of drugs, etc., etc. And that was spread about, spammed left, right and centre. Seemed to turn out to be a load of bullshit, right? Because Dylan is not alive from the looks of it, no more. So, with the evidence found, etc., etc. So maybe we have seen the odd little wave of a singular person spreading the message of a false statement. Was tonight's any different, or was it the same? Let me know your additional thoughts down below. If you do have any other questions regarding this video or anything else, list that down below. And if you've got additional information, leave a comment. Okay. So hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting. We'll see what happens next. We'll see if it's necessary to do an analysis of the interview with Candice Cooley. Time will tell there. I'll probably catch up on it the next day because of the timing and everything. Okay. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you next time. But for now, goodbye and good night.